Welcome down to the allotment. It's third week in February. You can hear the song thrushes there. And today I'm greeted with a beautiful sight behind me of blackthorn sloe already in blossom. So that's a lovely thing to see and to hear those song thrushes as the sun's setting on me. As you can see, these Timperley early rhubarb don't waste any time. They were up some weeks ago. Even in January, some of the rhubarb here, which catches more of the sunshine, I've put some blood fish and bone on and some chicken manure about a month ago. It seems as if the spraying programme on the fruit trees has, if you pardon the pun, borne fruit. This pear tree in front of me suffered terribly from pear rust. Oh, you just catch the crows there. Listen to that. It's the big gathering of the clan. Once a day they all discuss what's happened for the day and all get together. You can see them flying over my head. Anyway, back to business. As you can see, the vinegar spray, I made a dilute solution of vinegar for those of you who followed my instructions, and I only sprayed it during the dormant period, that is from the middle of December to the middle of January. It's still technically winter, but the sunshine and the temperatures have been up to about 18 degrees centigrade in the UK, and it's worked a treat. I'm not sure whether pear rust will be back, but I'm happy. I've put grease bands on my trees. I've just given them blood fish and bone today, and also obviously some gypsum. I've mentioned that in a previous post. And with the pruning programme, hoping for a better year 2019. Let's hope there isn't a drought. I began pruning my goji berries about 2 weeks ago. A strange plant, because you can have a branch which appears completely dead or devoid of any buds, only to find at the end of it a couple of buds. The idea with this one this year is to let more air and more light into it. They're very unkempt looking, and I haven't trained it. I've just opened it up, and believe you me, this might look crowded, but it's much better than it was. I've also taken cuttings of the goji about 3 weeks ago and lined them along the other side of the plot across the road, and that's again to form a hedge, and it helps to break up wind on the borders. And I'm also hoping some of the gojis will work this year. I only had a couple last year. And here we have the bay tree. This is the female one, and I'm seeing what colour these berries are going to turn. At a garden centre I've visited, all of their bay trees appear to be female, but this is the only one on my plot. So quite excited really, and it's the first time it's done berries. This year I'm going to try some white currants. They're not looking fantastic at the moment because they're only new plants, but I'm belt and bracing them. They probably won't be as vigorous as red currants, certainly not as vigorous as black currants, and surrounded them with garlic. So that'll keep the Dracula away, won't it? I've lifted some of the garlic bulbs to plant them around all of the fruit trees, keeping them in a ring around them, and also taken some home where I crush it in a pestle and mortar, filter it, and then dilute it in water. About 1 garlic bulb all crushed up will make up about into 2 litres of water, filtered, and I spray that. I'm spraying it on my old trees at home which are covered in canker as part of my experiment I mentioned in my last video. Incidentally, if you have weeping sappy trees, especially cherry trees, it appears they may well be a bacterial infection, in which case I use dilute vinegar, and that seems to have worked a treat. Here you see my strawberry bread, or one of them. It looks quite unkempt. It's in a square, and basically I've added some chicken manure pellets over winter, just put the blood fish and bone down today, third week in February. Basically keep it a bit weed free. Now as you can see, the remains of the straw, as maybe that's how they got the name strawberry, but I do buy the straw and use it here. Of course the birds like it as well as I do, so it has to be netted later on. in the spring. Well, as you can see, this plum tree buds are about to burst. I hope they don't burst into a heavy frost, and of course let's hope this year that the pollination is going to be good. There'll be plenty of insects around, otherwise it's back to the trusty soft brush to pollinate the things myself. But the tree itself looks much more healthy after the spraying program with vinegar when dormant. The dilute vinegar seems to have done the trick here. So let's hope for some tasty plums this year. Just emerging there, we have some rhubarb on the bed, and if I just pan out slowly along one of the rhubarb beds I see, you can see that they're coming along. Some of these are timply early, so basically they're exactly as it says on the tin, and you can see on top of them there are some dressings. You've got gypsum, agricultural gypsum, that looks like sort of a paste. Now the rhubarb beds have needed some attention. Basically I've used garden lime as a soil conditioner, and you sprinkle the pellets on. You should wear gloves because it is caustic, and basically it's a soil conditioner which unlocks the fertility of your soil, particularly on clay. Also been sprinkling on blood, fish and bone, which is very good for anything healthy growth, handy for fruit trees as well. But remember, rhubarbs are a hungry crop. And not forgetting, I also use poultry manure pellets. So there's 4 basics, 1, 2, 3, and the gypsum, I keep it covered under that blue bag there, the agricultural gypsum. But now's the time of year, as things are just emerging, to get your soil conditioners on. I don't dig them in, really. I find it rains so heavily down here, they slowly permeate in. For soft fruits like red currants, this one's been sprayed a couple of weeks ago with milk and bicarbonate. That helps get rid of things like coral spot. It's on the pruning program. At the moment it's got some chicken manure pellets and bloodfish and bone, and it's a question of me working my way through my soft fruit, making sure I've got them all pruned. Most of them being done. This spindly little cutting planted by me a couple of weeks ago, some weeks ago, is a goji cutting, and I took these while the plant was fairly dormant, and you can see it's probably alive because the buds are bursting. Not a guarantee though, but I put a whole host of these, probably about at least 2 dozen along a border. And if I just take you back, this is the border here, so I've got gojis, I've taken some cuttings also of bays, and there's also some raspberries as well, some raspberry canes along there, along with a couple of, there's a few dead things there as well, which is the corn on the cob stalks, and leaving them to dry and rot. Nice border plants, gojis, quite unkempt, but I'll see if I can get some more berries this year if I use the spraying program again correctly, milk and bicarb, to try and get rid of the mildew and open it up to light, and the air movement's essential. On this cherry tree you can see the results of where I sprayed oozy, sappy areas. I believe these are a bacterial infection, and I made up a dilute vinegar solution with a few drops of detergent over winter when it was dormant, before these buds have really been out. The buds are just coming out now. Now to my eye it looks a lot better. It's not a total cure because the bark has split, but if you can kill the infection and stop things from getting in again and keep treating it with dilute vinegar, if it comes back, be using sap, just the infected area, nowhere else, my understanding is you may have a more healthy tree. Better to hit it when it's dormant. But of course cherry trees do need feeding, and I've also added some lime below, blood, fish and bone, that's today, limed it, and also some gypsum. But of course this is the area where you can see where the branches join the laterals, where you can get the infection, that's where the vinegar was concentrated. I did the whole tree. Underneath every branch with dilute vinegar. This tree was in a shocking state. And it does look to me more healthy. There's scars on it, obviously, from where the infection is. But let's see what the crop does this year, 2019. See if it really does work, because that's the proof of the pudding. Next time in March, I shall be taking a look at this plant here, which is a cobnut, hazel, in other words. But these were grown in huge quantities prior to 1914, that's the First World War date, especially in Kent in the south of England, and thousands of people worked on the orchards for these, the market of course being mostly London. But at the moment, as you can see, it's laden with the male catkins, and the female flowers are much smaller. Incidentally, going to a country park, I saw bursts of pollen coming from one tree in the sunshine, and you literally watched it, and waves of it erupted out of the tree. This wasn't of course a hazel, but it was an interesting bush. I don't know what it was, but this tree will has of course been brutted, and then I'll probably open up the canopy and take some of the branches out. You can take about a quarter of the branches, a whole branch right down to the bottom out, including the catkins, but not now. I'll leave that till March. Until next time, happy catkins time. Leave you with this lovely rhubarb as it's bursting through the soil. What a magical crop this will be. Love rhubarb. What's not to like about it? Well, that's it for me this evening, and I hope you're busy on your allotments and your gardens, making plans, planting seeds, etc. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.